Finally apologizing for the years of torture and mysterious deaths children suffered at the now closed Dozier School for Boys. But as ABC Action News reporter Serena Fazan tells us, some families say their sorry comes way too late.
I served our country, our flag, for more than 20 years.
Retired Army Ranger Captain Bryant Middleton earned a Purple Heart, but he can't defeat his deep-seated wounds.
But none of those medals have healed the pain of what happened to me as a child 58 years ago.
Recounting beatings at the Dozier School for Boys and worse.
The sexual abuse at that school was rampant. I personally was molested by a medical doctor.
Today, a step towards closure. Surrounded by other victims, lawmakers finally uttered the words Dozier survivors hope to hear.
I cannot say with enough heartfelt remorse that it's taken this long for a legislature with all the evidence that is before us to come forth and apologize for what has to be one of the blackest moments on our state's history.
It's taken years for this resolution. The school shut down in 2011 after decades of abuse allegations. A year later, USF forensic anthropologist Dr. Erin Kimmerly embarked on a quest for answers, unearthing 55 bodies, including Obel Krau's brother. She waited nearly 74 years for a proper burial. Talking by phone today, she is not ready to forgive. Neither are other loved ones we spoke to. Middleton hopes this is a step in the right direction. Along with a formal apology, the state is promising two things: to build a forensic facility in Pasco County and name it after one of the victims. And
the most important part is that it never happens again to anybody else.
The wounds within me, deep within my soul, are actually starting to heal. And I'm thankful.
Serena Fazan, ABC Action News.
Lawmakers filed a resolution to condemn and apologize for the things that happened at the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys in Marianna. Dozier was a reformatory school run by the state that was closed in 2011 due to evidence of abuse. The resolution recognizes the physical, mental, and sexual abuse suffered by the boys sent to Dozier and expresses the state's commitment that children in Florida are protected from this kind of suffering. Juveniles were sent to Dozier for minor offenses like smoking, skipping class, and general bad behavior. According to eyewitness accounts, these victims were shot, whipped, left in isolated sweat boxes, and burned to death inside of locked rooms. More than 50 bodies were found at the site, many in unmarked graves. Dozier School for Boys was open for 111 years. Now, the University of South Florida examined the 51 bodies found on the school campus. Researchers say that there is evidence these boys died from illness, trauma, and fire, but there is no evidence supporting the claim that those deaths were caused by staff at the school.
Photos from inside the Dozier School for Boys, Florida's most haunted house. I don't believe in ghosts, Bullet says. But that is one of the creepiest places you could find. Bullet is an urban explorer, a 20-something Miamian who sneaks into abandoned buildings and photographs their bones. This time around, however, he came a little too close to the real thing. He's talking about the Arthur G. Dozier School, officially known as the Florida School for Boys. Unofficially known as Florida's most haunted place, thanks to scores of recently disinterred kids' graves. But Bullet didn't know any of that when he and a buddy crept into the school 3 years ago. When we went, all we knew is that it was an old school, he says. At the time I didn't think much of it. Then a year later it was in the news. All these accusations come up and I was like, wow, I know that place. See also, Dozier School dig unearths bodies of at least 55 boys. Bullet is one of South Florida's growing number of urban explorers, young men and women who risk trespassing rap sheets to slink into decaying structures, from abandoned missile silos to crumbling prisons. Unlike most URBXers, Bullet, not his real name, has made a living out of the practice. He photographs his adventures and sells the stunning, often scary prints. he was an honorable mention in this year's Mastermind Awards. His photos can be found on his website, Abandoned Florida. Many of his missions are hair-raising, he says. But he had no idea what he was walking into with Dozier. A buddy of his in Tallahassee told him there was a cool, old, abandoned school in Marianna, about half an hour away from the Florida capital. So Bullet drove up to the Panhandle and he and his friend slipped into the spooky school. Like most Florida ruins, Dozier was dripping with water damage. In some places, the ceiling had collapsed to reveal the sky. The floor is all mud, he says. There are bed frames everywhere. Old shoes. Jackets. Some of the rooms still bore traces of the students who had lived and in some cases died there, initials carved into walls or animal murals moldering away in the dark. There was one room which I thought was pretty weird, Bullet remembers. It was a small room in the back. Inside were boxes and boxes full of documents. Who's in charge today? Any incidents today? Stuff like that. It was pretty strange. We were looking through them and it had a lot of personal information. Names. Addresses. Relatives. But Bullet had no idea how ghostly these traces were. Even when he was snapping photos of the school cemetery, with its plain white metal crosses marking unlabeled graves, he didn't realize the horrors that had occurred at Dozier. It was only months later, when a team of researchers from the University of South Florida began excavating the cemetery, that Bullet realized he had traipsed through one of Florida's most haunted places. The dig would eventually unearth at least 55 bodies, far more than officially buried there, and renew decades-old allegations that kids had been tortured, raped, and killed at the infamous reform school. Suddenly, the notes and drawings Bullet had seen inside Dozier seemed like more than photographs. They seemed like messages from beyond the grave. Despite his haunted experience at Dozier, Bullet says the school wasn't the scariest place he's ventured. That title goes to an abandoned funeral home in Bessemer, Alabama, where he found an open casket with a decaying corpse inside. The coffin was leaking, he says. My friend got too close to the body and almost threw up. By that standard, Dozier was peaceful. But Bullet has no intention of returning. I'm pretty sure it's too risky now, he says. I wouldn't try it. Continue to the next page for more of Bullet's photos from Dozier.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, you know, at least I can do it, you know, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, you know, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now, you know, $1 a day, I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head, help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.